Okay, so let's start the shiur. I just like to recap mitzvah Reisha Dalet, the mitzvah of chosn l'samech Ashtoi, and let's just talk on the main points. In it is clear. The Rambam says in Mishnah Torah that the limud of bona bayis v'notei kerem bona bayis v'chinuchoi notei kerem v'chiluloi, that he is like noisy isha, and he didn't spend the year with her, is mipia kabbalah, and that it's b'chlal the mitzvah. That's the Ram in Hilchos Malachim L'Chamois, Perek Zayin Alocha Yud, ve'elu shein yoitzin li'olchel Melchama kol ika, ve'ematrichen oisam l'shum dover ba'olam. Abone bayis v'chinchoi, and they say, Au sosa b'is nesuin, o she'yibem, umi shechil el kalmoi, and yoitzin ad toim shon, shenema noki lebeisoi, shon achas simachas ishtoi, asher lochach. Pia kabbalah lomdu, sheyiye noki shono, bein lebayis shekono, bein liisha shenoso, bein lekem shehischalech opilia. Okay, that's all he says in Mishnah Torah. In the halachis, a discussion about simcha, we don't see really. And the lav of Boine Bayis, there's Ram also quotes a lav in the Gabi Boine Bayis in Mishnah Torah, in Perek Zayin Aloch Yir Aleph, Kol Hashana ein mesapek mayim u'mozoin v'lo misakin derech v'lo shoyim v'choymo v'lo noisein lepasu yir v'lo yavo lav shum dovo shenem lo yoytze v'tzov lo yavo lav oid l'chol dovo lava b'shnei lav v'lo l'tzoch yir v'lo l'tzoch ha'gedud. So here, take this Rambam and pick. Yeah. Exciting. I'll look it up. You have to get the context of this. So he says like this. Let's just read Yud and then Yud Aleph. You see the context. Ve'elu halacha Yud Aleph, halacha Yud, Perek Zayin, Melachim Melchames halacha Yud. Ve'elu shein yoitzin le'olke ha'melchama kol ika. Ve'matrichen oison l'shum dover ba'olam. Haboine bayis v'chinchoi, anoise alusasa o yibem, u'mi shechil b'tshuyeru. V'shenem anoki lebeisa. Piav kabol lomdu, Noki Shona Bein Labayis Shekona Bein Liisha Shenosa Ubein Lekerem Shehischil Lecho. Period. Then Alocha Yira Aleph, which is an extension of Alocha, that's the important point. Kol Hashona, Kula, Ein Misapik Mayim, Umozoin, V'loi Misakin Derech. Who's he going? They're going on all three. V'loi Shoyve B'chayma, V'loi Noisein Pasir. Lo yavo lo shum dovo. Shenema lo yetze batzovo lo yavo lo b'chol dovo. Lavo b'shnei lavim lo l'tzoch ha'ir lo l'tzoch ha'gedud. So here it's very clear that the lav and the aseh are not telling him what he should do. But what he shouldn't do is not, there's no discussion in Mishnah Torah that he's supposed to be happy with something, at least in the halachos. He will not get involved in the Potem mitzvah at the moment. And the question, what happened? The Pasuk says, "V'simach Aishtai." Not yet. So we pointed out that once you have Midive Kabbalah, that Kerem and is B'chlal mitzvah, not the way it has in Sefer mitzvahs, so you assume the Aseh is not really V'simach. So there's no discussion about Simcha. We have to know. Maybe the Ram learned that doesn't seem to have Simcha in the way we understand. We'll explain. We'll talk about it, Metz Hashem. The interesting thing is that in the Prote mitzvahs, he does have something. Liois Yudches in Prote mitzvahs, Liois Ma'ares, Uboine Binyan, V'noiteh Kerem Smechem B'kinyonim, Shona Tmimo. So Umachzir Noisim in Amochomo. So the Chayil around the Prote mitzvahs seem to have something to do with Simcha, and halachas proper, he doesn't mention Simcha b'chlal. He doesn't even mention as a mitzvah say. He just says they don't go out to Muhammad, and they're not involved in what they don't do. And the whole term, the truth is, in the Prote Mitzvahs, where he says, Liois Ma'ares, Uboine Binyam, Loiteh Kem, Smecha B'Kinyonom, Shona Tmimo, Umachzir, and Oisam and Amochomo, that is very difficult. Because the din is, in Choson, it's not that it's Machzirin, he doesn't even go out. In Ma'ares, and Boina Bayis, Veloichin Choy, and Noite Kem, Veloichil there he goes out, and the Machziz is Machzir. So the whole discussion about Machzir, in terms of where there's an issue of Simcha, doesn't make any sense. If you're supposed to be Smechem and Kinyonom, it's not that it's Machzir and Achoma, they don't go out. And the Ram himself sees to be says to himself, is there mitzvah Simcha or is there not a mitzvah Simcha? He doesn't even quote the Aseh at all. He just says Noki. He doesn't say it's mitzvah Aseh. In Prote mitzvahs, you get the impression mitzvah Aseh, but he says on the Ma'aris, which is nuts. This is the pasuk of Noki, the base of Simach, wasn't talking about a Ma'aris Isha, it was talking about a Neisa Isha. And as we mentioned before, Machzir Oisim L'Choma doesn't make any sense. It's nothing to do with the mitzvah Aseh L'Sameach. So this is what I want to suggest, that maybe in Mishnah Torah, the Ram's opinion is that there's no mitzvah to mesameach ishtoi in Shona Achas. But the mitzvah say is lahachze oisem in a mechomo, or they shouldn't go out to the mechomo. And the mitzvah is on the manhigim mechomo, and it's not in the chosim. And there's no mitzvah in the chosim at all. Noki the beisai is the manhigim mechomo. The reason why your machzi oisam and amachomo is because it's zman simcha shelo. But it's not there's a mitzvah say to misameach ishto. Or it's zman to misameach in the kinyonim, but not there's a mitzvah say to misameach in the kinyonim. And then the ikar say is on acherim, the manhigim mechomo, the hachzi oisam and amachomo. And then you have to think about the following. And maybe Mishnah Torah, there's no mitzvah of simcha, it's only minhigim l'chomo, that he shouldn't fight. To make it raw, that he can be sameach, or sameach in kinyonai. In minyan mitzvahs, it's just the opposite. The mitzvahs on the chosim. So you can say there's a mitzvah sameach im ishto, and maybe the mitzvah, and maybe there the mitzvah might be only on the chosim. In the way he formulates it in Sefer mitzvahs, this mitzvah should have been canned in Hilchos Ishus. It's the way a husband should interact with his wife. However, in Mishnah Torah, it's not in Hilchos Ishus, but it's the Hilchos Melachim or Melchamos. It's the dinim melchama, that the mahige hamelchama, he should not go out to war. It's a whole different world. So it comes out that according to the Rambam Mishnah Torah, the Aseh is a manhiga melchama, or the manhiga ir, that they're not allowed to mekabel the chosid to the army or to tzorkei ir. However, in the Sefer HaMitzvos, the mitzvah is on the chosim. The mitzvah say. Now, L'gufa shel inyan, the lashon of the Rambam in the Protei Mitzvahs is very difficult. And let's try and read it slowly, because it doesn't make any sense. That's what I was trying to tell you last week, which I want to read to you now. Reb Shlomo Vilna was Magir. The amazing thing is that in Kisvei Yad, all the Kisvei Yad support the text that we have, but the truth is, the text that we have is just impossible. Because how could you have Ma'ares, Uboyne Binyam, and Noitea Kerem, Smechem Mekinyonim? How can you Ma'ares? The Torah, the mitzvah lahachzir or orus is not bishum simcha, but it's Shmonei Agmas Nefesh. The person's thinking, oh, I'm going out to war, and someone else will consummate the marriage. Someone else will live in my house. Someone else will machal l'kerem. But it's not a question of simcha. It doesn't do the nokia base of a simach. It's really a question of agmas nefesh. Umio ish, as the pasuk says, asher eras isha v'loy lekocha yelech v'yeshev lebeisai pen yomus milchama v'ish ache yikocheno. And the similarly in bias v'lechanchoy v'kerem v'lechiloi. And also in the beginning of what he says in the Protei Mitzvahs, it's mashma the mitzvahs on the ma'ares and the boine bayis v'noitei kerem. And in the Sof, umachzirin oisim en ha-melchama, umachzirin oisim en ha-melchama is going on the manigim melchama. So who's the mitzvah on? He starts off the mitzvah is on the oldest, and he ends off the mitzvah melchama. And Adrabah, the whole issue of Sameach with Ishta was only on the Suin, not on it always. And I'm here is talking about us. So this is the Tzarchi and God. So it comes like Shlomo Mevilna, and he's Magia in the Platei Mitzvahs. And as I said before, there's no support from him from the Kisvei Yad for what he says in Mistaber. The text we have in front of us is impossible. So it goes like this: Yud Zayin Lim Shoyach Koyin Ledabe Bi'oznei Anshe Hatzovo B'Shas Milchomo. You have to have a Koyin Mashuach, and he's supposed to speak before they go out to Milchomo. And what is the topic of the speech? Lihiyos ma'ares u'bein binyan v'noitei kerem hoylech v'shov lebeisai u'machziros melchom. This is not the mitzvah of Simach es ishto nochi lebeisai. This is the mitzvah of Kohen Moshuach. That there's a mitzvah of Mashiach, and the topic of his speech is to be machzir ma'ares. And the boine bayis v'loy chinchoy noitei kerem and there's no mitzvah simcha by the ma'aris. And this is exactly what you would expect. This is mistaber. Then in Yutches, Liyos noisei isho chadosho, uboine bayis v'chonchoy, v'noitei kerem v'chiloloi, smechim b'kinyonom shona tmimo. And this makes sense. We're talking about Nisuim and Boine Bayis V'Chinchoy and Noite Kerem V'Chiloi. However, and this goes in that there's a Kabbalah that the Boine Bayis and the Noite Kerem V'Chinchoy are big part of this mitzvah. The only problem is with this, but that's a problem per se. Here in the Platei Mitzvah, you get the impression there's a mitzvah simcha, lo sameach b'kinyonom im kinyonom, both on the Noisei Isha and on the Boine Bayis V'Chiloi, V'Chinchoy, V'Noitei Kerem V'Chiloi. And the pashtus of what we read in the halachas in Mishnah Torah, that it's ordin on the manhiga melchama. That's a problem. Okay, next. Next. Now, I just wanted to show you something else, okay? I want to go over, what we did last week. We did. I just wanted to tie up a few ends because we have to move on. The Rambam in Mishnah and Sotah, the Mishnah and Sotah in Perek Ches Mishnah Zayin. Avo b'mechemes choivo hakol yoitzin v'afilu chosem mechedra chedroi v'chal mechupos. So the Bartanua there says that not only the chayzim of Milchama after the Kohen Gadol speech, but even those that don't go out to Milchama at all, the Noisei Isha, the Boine Bais, the Chinchoi, they take care of the Chiloi, that they don't go out, the Loizozim Gansen, the Chayzim on Pasha Shavtim, the Loizozim Makaimam and Pashki say, everyone goes out to Milchama. And the truth is, that's what Rashi says. Rashi in Sefer, Amem Dalan Rebeis, Diva Maschabam, the Bomamuim. I just want to show you something interesting in the Lashon Rambam. The Rambam Mishneh Torah in Hilchos Malachim Milchamos Perek Zayin Halacha Daled, he says, "B'amidvor mamuim shemachzirin anoshim elu me'ochel milchama." So you have to understand this discussion. See, according to Rashi, it's talking about everyone, okay? And it's whether you go out to milchama and you sent back, or you don't go out at all. Everyone goes out. But the Rambam quotes this din in the din of machzirim milchama, not about those that don't go out at all. Listen, Perek Zayin, Halacha Daled, B'amidvor mamuim shemachzirin anoshim elu me'ochel milchama b'milchemes rishus, aber milchemes mitzvah hakol yoytzein afilu chosen mechedroi b'kal mechuposa. If the din would have been a din that everyone goes out, then he should have put it when he was discussing the din later, when he's in Halacha Yud Aleph, when he's talking about that the chosen doesn't go out at all. Here he quotes this din in the din of machzirin, which is amazing. It's not like Rashi and Sefer. So according to the Rambam, is the din is that the ma'aris isha v'olokocho bo'ne bayis v'loi chimchoi v'ter kerem v'loi chiloi. They don't go out to milchama and milchemes rishus, but what do they do? Mesapik mayim u'mozo le'achayim. They help in the war effort. However, that's only milchemes rishus. But milchemes mitzvah, not only they don't help in the war effort, they fight themselves. They also fight. They take part in the milchama itself. However, elu sheinam yotzim b'chlal, and there's a lav and the men he yatzovo lachrichoisem lotzeisem milchama. So because of the lav, they don't go out under any circumstance. Afilu milchemes mitzvah, because of the lav. And they also, maybe minyan mitzvahs, we don't know here that they actually go out. The chosen in the mitzvah of Oishur Dal. We don't know in a milchemes mitzvah. In Mishneh Torah in Hilchos Shemitah v'Yovel, per Yud Gimel Halacha Yud Beis, we talked about the Levim. HaLevim lo'olchim milchama ki Yisrael. We don't know. There also, maybe and possibly and probably that even Mechemes Mitzvah Levim don't fight. However, everyone's going to ask, at the Loshen, Afilu Chosa Mechedroi V'chala Mechuposo is Yoitze L'Melchemes Mitzvah. Halo Chosa V'chedroi V'chala Mechuposo is V'chayre after the Suin. If it's Chedroi, it's doch, there was Yichel the Suin, so it's doch the Suin. So it says that even by the Suin they go out. And Kala Mechuposa, we don't know whether a woman fights or there's a mitzvah in Mechemes Mitzvah. L'cheira, you assume the woman does it. We don't know that she actually fights. You have to go back and see over there. So what you probably should say over here is, according to Rashi, it's not like that. But according to the Rambam, that this lashon of Chosem Mechedrei V'Kal Mechuposei is a melitza, which is taken from the pasuk in Yoel, in Peri Beis pasuk Tezayin, and the Indian is talking about a tiny Sibo. It's not talking about war at all. But maybe Chosem Mechukala Mechedroi, they're on the way to the chuppah. That they're awesome, but I thought they're just almost there. So I don't know that's the chil you have to say. It's a little odd. Now, the interesting thing is the Minchas Chinuch points out, it's a very interesting thing. The Minchas Chinuch in Mitzvah Tovkuf Pei Aleph Pei Beis, he asks, is the mitzvah in the Torah mitzvah say, Noch Yeh Lebeisai, which was said only the Gabriel Chosan, and all we see is the Talmud brings down that Josh and Nochi Lebeisai, that it's not only a Chosan, but it's on Beisai, Bechinchai, and Kamo Bechilai. So the Chera, it's Muchach in the Gemara that the Chosan, not only the Chosan is part of the mitzvah, but the Boina Bayis Bechinchai, not the Kerem Bechilai, is also part of the mitzvah. But it comes out a very strange thing. The Ram says here in Minyan HaMitzvos that you're supposed to be Mesamech im Ishtoi. L'syachet chosem im Ishtoi shona tmima. So we pointed out last week, you can Mesasimach es Ishtoi, the PL is Mistaba. You can Mesamech with your wife. But the PL is Mesimach es Ishtoi, l'chayre, he's supposed to make her happy. So what do you mean? You make and you put the house, you're making the house happy. It doesn't make any sense. That's why the Rambam in the Pratim says Samechim Kinyonim, but the Poshet appeal, you don't know how to read. So what the Minchas Chinuch does an amazing thing. He's chaylik on the chinuch, and really the chinuch is based on the Rambam in Minyan HaMitzvos. And he assumes that the mitzvah is on the manhigi ha-milchama, here, as we said in the Ram Mishnah Torah. And therefore, you can have a drasha of Beisai, Bechinchoi, and Kalmoi, Bechiloi, and they can be B'chal the mitzvah, because the mitzvah manhigi that they should not send them out to war. They should tell them until we machzir moisa. And excuse me, that is, and on the chosam, they should not take them even to go out to Melachim L'chomo. It means that the question is, who's the Aseh? As we said, that in Minyan HaMitzvos and the Chinuch, the Aseh is in the chosam, and Kshuta Shomiko, 100%. Comes the Minchas Chinuch and says there's nothing in the Gemara mentioned that you have to misameach isha yirchon achas, and the Kabbalah is that you don't take him out to Milchama. Not only the Chos and the Noisi Isha, but the Boine Bayis and the Te'akerem. So then that's what he does. He makes everything that we said before, that it's like the Ram Mishnah Torah, that the mitzvah is really not on the Chosim and Manhigi Ha'ir and Manhigi Milchama. And they're not allowed to take the Chosim out to fight. They're not allowed to send them to war. And this, the Rambam here in Minyan HaMitzvos, that it's mashma that the chosson shouldn't leave his wife for a certain period. So, therefore, in Minyan HaKotze, you can say l'sameach chosson es ishtoi shona shenema noki. That's what he's supposed to do. The mitzvah's on him. And the Yisrael machlekes between the Rambam and Sefer HaMitzvos and the Chinuch on one side against the Minchas Chinuch and the Ram Mishnah Torah, can you make a mitzvah of a simach es ishtoi based on Pshuta Shel Mikra where there's no mention in the Talmud about such a thing? Can you make a mitzvah emasculated from Divrei Chazal? And the Chayra, according to the Ram Sefer HaMitzvos and the Chinuch, you can't do such a thing. You have to follow Pshuta Shel Mikra also. There's a mitzvah on the Chosen, the Sameach Ishtoi. And we said, I think we mentioned this already, that the Ram doesn't say there's a mitzvah on the Kerem and on the Bayis, because the whole idea of a Simach and Pshuta Shel Mikra only makes sense in Chosen. You're not making a Kerem happy. So you can't have a Xeris Akosu to do something which is impossible to do, to make a Kerem happy. So if the Gemara has a drosha about Kerem and Bayis, then it must be as far as the Lav is concerned, and the Ashor, the Manigi are here. Limnoya, Milohitzi, Aboyne Bayis, Bechiloi, Lilchom Melchom. So therefore, the Rambam in Minyan HaMitzvos, even though the Gemara quotes the drasha by Noki Tia the Beisai, by the Aseh, the Rambam says it must be going on the lav. There's a tshuv Radvaz, Shaz a tshuv Misvei Shalom Ches. He also says in Minchas Chinuch and the Ram Mishnah Torah that there's no mitzvah on the chosen. Liyois im Ishtoi, Shona Achas, Shona Shlema. And he shouldn't go out with Schera. And then he says that because of this, he wants to make Sefer mitzvahs like that. And he says that the translation Ibn Tibin in the Lav, Bat Schera, is not accurate. You say that? Okay. This, I just want to say, look. Okay, let's go on. Go on. Next mitzvah. I thought that, the important thing is to look again and again and again, look at what the Ram is presenting in Sefer HaMitzvos, and look what he's presenting in Mishnah Torah. And I think it's very clear. The problem is only in the Pratei Mitzvahs, after Rav Shlomo Vilna's Hagor, how the Pratei Mitzvahs, which seems to say there's a mitzvah, it changed Mesimach to be Samech in Bekinyono, and there's a mitzvah on them. And what he's learning, the Kabbalah is that it's not Mesimach, but it's Mesamach. Okay? And even though Chazal don't talk about it, there's a mitzvah to be happy with your kinyonim. Whereas the pashtus and the halachas is the mitzvah is not to be happy with the kinyonim. The mitzvah is on the mahigya mechama, not to be moitzi oisam mechama. Okay, now. I just want to apologize before the mitzvah Mileb was expected. Wow, we're going to talk about the Sefer. What I try to do over here is to deal with the words that the Rambam writes, and not to write them in Minchas Chinuch, and to compare the way he might talk about things in Mishnah Torah and to Mishnah Torah and Pirush Mishnayos, or sometimes in the Meira. Okay, so we'll see what he says in Mila, and we'll try to deal with it. Mitzvah Reish Tezvav, a mitzvah Achomesh Chamesh Esrei Mosai. Hu shetzivonu ala Mila. So in Kapach, he says Lehimo. In Eoiv, it says Ala Mila. And Ibn Tiban, it says Lomol Es Haben. Aben. Now, I'm not interested if it's Ala Mila, Lehimo, or Lomol, or what. That's not really the issue over here. The question is to say, just it tells you there's a mitzvah Mila, and doesn't tell you anything more, or it tells you that you're supposed to mal your son. This word Es Haben, which Ibn Tiban adds, we don't find any expression of it in the Ksav Yad. There's no edus. There's no testimony in the Ksav Yad. There's something about a ben. It is true that in Minyan HaKotzer, it does say lo moles ben, and Kedalka, even Tibin, many times uses the Rambam's Minyan HaKotzer to translate his words in Minyan HaMitzvos. Now let's read it. Mitzvah chomesh esrei u'mosai hi shetzivonu al hamila. That's from the Ibn Iyoi. Okay, mitzvah mila. V'omer Yisrael li Avrom. This is what God told Avrom Avinu. Himo lochem kol zoch. So the Rambam quotes here the Parshas Mila of Avrom Avinu, and he doesn't quote the pasuk towards the beginning of Parshas Tazria, which is a discussion of Tumas Yoledis, but there is a Mitzvah Mila there. Interesting is that in Minyan HaKotzer, the Ram quotes the pasuk in Tazria as the makor for the mitzvah. So over here, he quotes the Pasha in Lech Lecho, and in Minyan HaKotzer, he quotes the Pasha in Tazria. Rab Chaim in Sefer, Chedusha Ibn Chaim Alevi, Hilchos Mila, Perek Aleph Halacha Yud, is marich about the difference between the two Pashas. And the discussion is in Arichas Godel. And this is not the place for this. The Ram, happens to quote the pasuk in Lech Lecho, and in Minyan HaKotzer he quotes the other question. Any significance in there? What difference in the pashas? And even Rab Chaim's discussion, it's both pashas are mechayiv. The question is, there might be difference in dinim in the pashas. There might be a different dinim in Issacharian section. What's the Chashab? The Ram Chaim. There are many different discussions there. Okay. Now, Mila, if you write it stam and not like Ibn Tibin did, Lamas Haben, the assumption is that the mitzvah Mila is not only to be mal Yisod, but also to be mal the Yo'eved. And that includes Miknas Kaspoy and Yilid Beisoy. And this is the way you could interpret Ibn Iyov ala Mila, all forms, and Kapach Lihimo. And Protei Mitzvah says, Rams in Protei Mitzvahs, he says, Lo Molas Cholim. Now, the Ibn Tibin that has the mitzvah Mila on the ben, Lo Molas Ben, as it is in Minyan Mitzvah Kotzer, and Ibn Tibin over here, which is very difficult, get the impression the mitzvah Mila is only on a ben, it's also on an Evet. And the mitzvah Mila, as we know, is Koil Ben, Milas Avodim, Hein Mikdas Kasboy, Hein Yulid Beisoy. And we don't understand the Rambam in Minyan HaKotzer and Ibn Tibin, because the mitzvah is including both. Then in one of the places, there's a nusach is Shmona Yomim. And that is in the Protei Mitzvos. Lomul Hascholim V'Yom HaShmini. Because the mitzvah includes Miknas Kasbo. In Miknas Kasbo, you have to do a meal on the day that you bought the Eved. So why add Yom HaShmini? You think, which makes it more difficult. And it's not including Miknas Kasbo. We don't understand. Now, as we pointed out, according to the Rambam, Milas Avodov and Milas Beno is all one mitzvah of Milah. They're all inyan echot and minyan mitzvah v'yon Torah. The mitzvah is Milah, whether it's Benoi or it's Avda, it's all the same. Rav Sadi Goy is of the opinion that there are three mitzvahs of Milah. Milas Bonov, Milas Kaspoy, or Milas Yilid Beisoy. Rav Sadi Goy in Sefer HaMitzvos, Rav Sadi Goy, Perek Aleph, page 19, V'shmone esrei, Nesinas Ois Bris, V'guf HaGvorim, HaYehudim, Al Yidei Milah, Koimo Nimaltem Es B'sao Laschem, V'hoyer Li'ois Bris, Beinu V'nechem, V'tcha esrei, Milas Avodim, HaGvorim, Shehem Kinyan HaYehudim, V'ya'esrim, Milas HaGvorim, Yilid Beischo, HaNolodim, Ka'omoi, Al Shneim Himol Yimo, Yilid Beischo, Umiknas Kaspecho. If you look carefully, it seems, I said according to the Rambam, that minyan HaMitzvos is a question of Inyonei HaTorah. Looking at Rav Sadi Goy, what happens is that the mitzvah of Milah on your son is a mitzvah of giving him an ois bris, and that's what he stresses. And he says, Nesinas ois bris, v'guf ha'gvorim ha'yehudim, al yidei Milah. And then you get the impression it's just what you do to your avodim, but it's not an ois bris, which is interesting because the avodim that you're doing the ois bris on, there's a galus b'mixas, and it's just not complete. So maybe they need the ois, they don't need the ois bris. Yes, it becomes a very interesting issue. According to the Rambam, it seems to be all the same. Now, here is the discussion itself, but since the Ram doesn't say anything over here, I didn't feel comfortable being marich about it. The tam for Milah changes in many, many places of the Rambam. The Rambam in Mishnah Torah seems to clearly say the tam for Milah is a lisko as Hashem Tomid, even the Beis HaMerchatz has a discussion. You'll find it in the Hakadoma to the Rambam in Mishnah Torah, in the where he's machalik the Mishnah Torah into 14 Sforim and explains the Sefer Av or the second Sefer. That's one approach. In Nevuchim, in Chele Gimel, Perek Mem Tes, he has a different approach. He talks about Meisei Taiva, and Ois of Yichud Hashem. The only reason I'm mentioning this just to say something. The question is, one has to ask. The Rambam puts this mitzvah in the dinim from Ishus, all the mitzvahs about Ishus. The question is it telling you something about Milah? And if yes, what it is? And this definitely could be a subject from a drasha that someone give by a bris milah, but to say that you can actually substantiate this, I will be a far cry for me to say such a thing. Now, here comes something interesting. Ba'is bohu mitzvah, betisha osa b'Shabbos, l'vi'im v'vos. Okay, then he's like this. V'ein ha'isha mitzuva lomol as b'no. A woman is not mechuyev to mal her son. Kimo sha'av mitzuva b'zer. A mother is not like a father as far as Milah is concerned. Excuse me, Kmosh in his boya b'kedusha. Gemara in Chof Testament out. Okay, beseder. So one of the Achreinim, Franklin quotes him in Hillman in the Tziyunim in this mitzvah. He quotes a Sefer Chemdes Yisrael. And the Chemdes Yisrael is medayik that the Ram says that a mother is not like a father. Okay. But maybe a mother is not worse than any other Jew in Klal Yisrael. And every Jew in Klal Yisrael has to make sure that if the father doesn't want him out of the son, they take over. So if the father doesn't want him out of the son, the mother takes over. However, the what is going against this approach, I'm dying, maybe, okay, is that in the Shiur mitzvah Aseh, you get the impression that Noshim, in the Ram says the Noshim are potter from the mitzvah of Milah. In the mitzvah Hechrechios, he says the Noshim Ptuos mi mitzvah zo legamre. He says which mitzvah Noshim potter from? Hamosayim v'chamesh esrei, which is this mitzvah. V'hi gam kein miuchedes b'zchorim. And the Avnei Nezer assumes like that also, that the mitzvah is only on Zchorim, not on Noshim. And the Avnei Nezer is in your day, Sivan Shin Yotes, Sivkot Yud Gimel. So the diuk sounds like a nice diuk, but I'm not sure if it holds water with the Rambam in the Shiur mitzvah Aseh. Okay, now the mitzvah Reish Tes Zayin. HaMitzvah Ashesh Esrei Mosoim Hi Tzitzivonu Liyos Hayovom noise es ish eshes achiv kishemeis v'lo yeniach zera. V'omo yis'ale yevomo yovo alel. V'ayizboi dini mitzvah Meseches HaMechuberes law, which is what's Meseches Yevom? What's Meseches Yevom? The Rambam talks here and just says the mitzvah miyabim, which is to marry the woman. The Rambam here does not discuss at all that there are aspects of Yibum which are kinyan, that the Yavam has a kinyan Yavama, and there's a mitzvah say within Yibum. Achreinim talk, what about the mitzvah? What about the kinyan, how it works, minchas chinuch, in the end of mitzvah, Tov Kuf Sadiches, and Achreinim on Yevomas, but there's no mention in Rambam about the kinyan of Yibum. He only talking on the mitzvah here. So having a discussion about this, I don't think is fair, as a discussion about the text over here. There's something very interesting in the text over here. The Rambam uses the Arabic word bikon in the original, okay, bikon. It's an Arabic word. And the literal interpretation of bikon is b'matzav shel, in the state of. We talked about mishmoros, and we talked about tmula. We talked about various mitzvahs of bikon. Each one we understood the state of tmula, that there should be an institution of mishmoros. But here, the idea of bikon, we don't know exactly what the Rambam wants. In the he says liyos noise, it means liyos hayavam noise, that the yibum, the oven should be in the state of the suin or something like that. So even though the Maisa mitzvah is the Maisa bia of the yibum, but the Kiyuma mitzvah is to be in a matzav in the suin, im yevimtoi. And in the suin, which is the mitzvah, is memela after the bia. However, this whole business that the mitzvah, that the Kiyuma mitzvah is that the state of the suin, you don't find any mention of it or any remes to it in the Minyan HaKotzeh or in the Potei Mitzvahs in Mishnah Torah. And the mitzvah is liyabim. Ein hilchos yibum, v'chalitza. Look in Perik Aleph Halacha mitzvah same in Torah. Sheyabim adam eshes achiv v'chulei. Imeis b'lei zera. Shenema ubein ein loy yivom yovoles. We don't know. But if you take literally the Arabic, the mitzvah is to be in the state. It's in the suin, which occurs b'meila after the Maisa mitzvah, the Maisa bia. Interesting. Even though the mitzvah is to be in the state of, this is a mitzvah regila. It's a normal mitzvah. Ram says amar. It's not a shran. There's a mitzvah to a Maisa bia to be in the state, I guess, of the sunnah and what you're supposed to do. I guess he's supposed to do something before. It's not mentioned what he does. but it's only to be in the state. That's what he mentions here. In the other place, he says, mitzvah yibum. Mitzvah Hashem will pick up this mitzvah, next mitzvah, mitzvah Hashem, next week.